guys. So I'm gonna shoot a new video. I haven't posted in a while, so I decided I'm gonna post one video. This video is going to be about personal credit and what I believe a major cause of suffering. Um, you know, everyone's looking at each other and pointing fingers and saying, it's your fault because that's the way it is. It's your fault too. But things might be much more simpler than that. And what do I mean by that? Well, the interesting thing about the credit, personal credit, is that it goes against the nature of how we are wired as humans. We have a certain structures in our mind that if we follow those, we experience bliss, and if we don't, we experience suffering. And so, how credit can cause us suffering? Doesn't it supposed to help us? It's supposed to, give us the things that we want immediately. The problem with that is that's not how we're wired, and the way our brain works is very different. We evolved in environments where we're putting a lot of effort out and we get a reward, and that is how we're wired. If you take the reward first and then you put an effort, there's a lot of things that just don't work anymore, and you experience the suffering as opposed to experiencing bliss. You're essentially putting the cart, in front of the horse. And you might have experienced this yourself. For example, you may enjoy something, some job that you do, you enjoy it, right? And then you take out the loan to buy stuff that maybe you don't really need, or the stuff that you don't really earned it yet. But the credit system says like, hey, you don't have to earn it. Just take it. You'll earn it later. And you think, oh, that's a great deal. But what you just did, you sold your soul to the devil, essentially. Because now you're enslaved. Now you're slave to the things that you bought, but you're not really slave to the things that you bought. You're slave to the system. And they know it's very difficult to say no to that. Therefore, you end up being so-called economic slave. And I just want to, acknowledge the fact that nobody's calling people economic slaves. But I do believe that 20, 50 years from now, maybe it's not going to be that long, we're going to look back to the times that we have now. We're going to call them economic slaves, just like we're looking at the traditional slavery that we had, and now we look back with we sort of discussed at the time was completely accepted, and that's what's going on with economic slavery right now. So what you end up creating is misery for yourself, because now you have a job that you would be like and enjoy doing it, but now you're doing it just to get out of the debt to the stuff that you bought, and that there is no reward anymore in the job. So now the job that you enjoyed before, now you suddenly started hating that job. And if you did experience that, it's not because the job suddenly sucks, it's because you don't get a reward at the end of your effort. You don't get a reward anymore. What do you have to look forward to, right? So, and I do believe that personal credit is one of the biggest causes of suffering in humans, and I don't see any value in sort of following this system. The only value is for the people who created the system. They have economic slaves powering their whatever they like, military influence, the sort of infinite growth in the size of the pockets and snow, you name it. It serves a few, but it really enslaves the many. So, but I'm not saying that the credit is a bad idea. I'm saying personal credit is an evil idea, um, because whoever's creating it, they know that you can't resist, and most people they won't be able to resist, and people who do resist are pretty much, what I think might be genetically wired to delay gratification, and they know what that is, so they don't really subscribe to it. Says no, I'm not going to get that car. I'm not going to get that rich until I earn it. Right? This type of people like that because they just don't sell their soul. So yeah, and to expand on on this credit idea and why is it credit itself is not bad, it's a personal credit. It's because the credit is a wonderful idea if you borrow to invest. It's the foundation of capitalism essentially, right? It's the idea that you have an idea, you are the mind of some sort of project or an idea, and you have the access for funding and creating that into reality. That's amazing. So what does that mean for you? It means that never borrow, always invest. If you take the credit, it's because you took it to invest. And you don't call things that are not investment. Your car is not an investment. You can say, well, I need to go from A to B. Well, get the cheapest car you can that can take you in, in most technically sound car that is reliable. That's it. And you don't have to borrow the money for that. You can definitely save to buy that type of car. Right? So now you're not really breaking law. You're not making things up. That's an investment, because it's not. So if you live by this rule that you don't take out the personal credit, but if you do, you invest. And even your house is not an asset. Your house is liability, because does it produce the cash flow, or does it consume it? And if it consumes it, it's not an asset. Okay? The house that perhaps you bought and you're renting out a big chunk of, and then perhaps you're cash flow positive, or at least flush. Okay, that you can consider to be an asset, but it's not an asset unless it produces the cash flow. Okay, and so that's pretty much the take-home message. Is not saying the whole credit system is bad. More about the balanced approach. It's how you use it. Okay, and don't enslave yourself anymore. If you have credit cards, get out of the credit card debt, right, and stop having that instant gratification. If you keep delay gratification, you'll see how you enjoying things. It's just going to happen. It's kind of counterintuitive for people who are instant gratification driven, but that's what happens. And it's like the stuff that you don't really need in the minimalism around you is going to feel so good. You just get rid of the stuff that you're slave to. And the dark side of it is that we humans, we're wired so well to reciprocate that if you do have debt, you feel like you have to repay. The debt is not real. What they gave you is nothing. They made that up. Now you go to work and really hard to repay. That's only when the value is created. You created the value. They gave you nothing. They gave you numbers on the screen. But we believe there is something tangible that we feel like we had to repay it. And if it goes deeper and deeper and deeper into debt, our self-esteem is affected, and it's in the proportion of our debt, our self-esteem is shrinking, and it can go to the point where there is no point of return, and then people considering suicide. Look how ridiculous this is. People would rather kill themselves than live with the guilt of debt. that is not even real. Okay? So, and the reason I'm saying this is that, if you do it, you do it yourself. And there's no way you can't blame the system, right? Just because it's available, you gotta take your own responsibility. And if you're listening to this video, I hope that's going to sort of affect you and allow you to make better decisions, in that thing. And hopefully you realize that, wow, I'm actually much happier. I may have less stuff, but now I'm looking forward to things. Now I see that I have to earn the things that I get. It's fun, it's game. Just like in a video game, you play it and you go home, you get some points. There is a reward. There's that rush of bliss, and dopamine in your system. That's why we're wired that way. Nobody wants to play a game where you just, get whatever is the reward in the game in advance. What's the point playing it? You're immediately going to get depressed about this game. Okay, so don't do this with your life either. And yeah, I guess in the essence that's the message. And like I said, if you do have credit, get rid of it. And there's an idea that but you do need credit cards because it improves your credit score. No, that's not true. The credit score is important if you, because pretty much that's what's important to live in the debt system, is to have really nice, good financials, so you can borrow and invest. That's to play this game. Okay, you get your financials right, so they can borrow money, and they can borrow something that's completely useless, and you can put in something that is of value, and it's going to continue being more and more useless in comparison to anything that's a real asset, because they keep printing it. It's so simple. And that's how you use that credit system in your own, towards your own advantage. And the credit score is not true that you have to have credit cards to have a high credit score. It's not true. As long as you pay your bills, as long as you pay, if you there's many people who have tremendously good credit score and they don't have credit cards. I don't have credit cards, right? I got to get rid of all my credit cards. There was a time when I kind of was using credit cards, and there wasn't, I started noticing, it's like, oh, what am I doing here? Because I'm getting the stuff right now as opposed to waiting until, so it does affect your psychology. So don't think that it won't. Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. You don't need it. Just get your financials right, so then you can borrow to invest. Right? Then you don't even need money for that, as long as your financials are right. If you know how to make money, somebody can give you. So, yeah, that's a very important way to approach life. Don't be an economic slave. Run your own show. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.